Captain Lisa Ford stood at the bridge of the EN's horizon, her hands clasped tightly behind her back. Through the main view screen, she observed the Galactic Confederation diplomatic station, a massive structure shaped like a 12-pointed star, with each point representing one of the major alien species. "Nervous?" asked Commander Jack Russell, moving to stand beside her. She gave a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Should I be?" "Well, we're about to present our new ship technology to beings who've been traveling between stars since humans were figuring out how to make fire. So, maybe a little." Lisa's smile faded. "They invited us to this summit just to laugh at us, Jack. Let's not pretend otherwise. The Horizon was humanity's pride, their newest and most advanced vessel. But compared to the sleek ships of the Xelnar or the massive living vessels of the Arcturians, it looked primitive. The aliens had mastered 5-dimensional travel centuries ago. Humanity had only achieved reliable faster-than-light travel 96 years earlier." "Remember the briefing," Lisa told her crew as they prepared for docking. "They'll be condescending. They'll be dismissive. Keep your cool." The docking went smoothly, perhaps the only part of the day that would, Lisa thought grimly. Inside the station, the human delegation was led to a grand chamber where representatives from 12 alien species waited. Some looked vaguely humanoid, others defied description. Ambassador Vrex of the Xelnar sat at the center, his 3 eye stalks waving gently above a body that resembled a 6-legged octopus. "Captain Ford." Vrex's voice came through their translation devices. "We welcome Earth's representatives. Please, share with us your breakthrough." Lisa stepped forward and activated her datapad, projecting the schematics of the Horizon's new drive system, with certain key components deliberately obscured. "The EN's Horizon represents our latest advancement in dimensional travel technology," she began. "We believe it will revolutionize humanity's place in the galactic community." A ripple of something like amusement passed through the alien delegates. "Fascinating," Vrex said, his eye stalks quivering. "And this vessel can achieve what speed?" "Speed isn't exactly the relevant factor," Lisa replied carefully. "It's about dimensional manipulation." Kithal, the Arcturian representative with his insect-like features, made a clicking sound. "Humans still think in terms of conventional physics." "Charming. We've developed something beyond conventional physics," Lisa said evenly. "Have you now?" Vrex's translator conveyed his mocking tone perfectly. "Enlighten us, Captain." Lisa hesitated, then continued. "Our scientists have discovered access to what we term the 7th dimension." The chamber erupted in what the humans could only interpret as laughter. Various sounds from chirps to rumbles to high-pitched whistles. "The 7th dimension," Vrex exclaimed. "Next you'll claim to have harnessed the power of thought itself." Lisa felt her cheeks burn but maintained her composure. "We're prepared to demonstrate." "Oh, please do," Vrex replied. "The Confederation hasn't been this entertained in decades." The laughter continued as Lisa looked to her team. Commander Russell's jaw was tight with suppressed anger. Lieutenant Patul was staring at the floor. Only Dr. Alan West, the brilliant physicist behind Project 7th Gate, seemed untroubled, a small, knowing smile playing at his lips. Lisa leaned close to him and whispered, "Are you ready to show them?" Alan nodded. "They're not laughing at us, Captain. They're laughing at their own ignorance." He patted the small device concealed in his pocket, the true heart of the Horizon's revolutionary system. "Let them laugh," he added quietly. "For now." Dr. Alan West walked through his laboratory in Nebraska for what might be the last time. The modest facility had once been a warehouse before the military converted it for his research. Now, most of the equipment had been transferred to the EN's Horizon for the demonstration. Only his original prototype remained, sitting on a workbench. It looked remarkably simple, a sphere about the size of a basketball, with a complex pattern of circuitry visible beneath its transparent outer layer. "Hard to believe that little thing changed everything," said Major Ryan Clark, who stood in the doorway watching him. Alan smiled. Most world-changing discoveries look unimpressive. This was supposed to be a device for studying quantum entanglement. Instead, he gestured vaguely at the universe around them. Ryan approached the device cautiously. "So how exactly does it work? I've read the reports, but they might as well be in alien language." "That's because we're describing something that exists outside normal human experience," Alan replied. He picked up a sheet of paper from his desk. "Imagine our universe is this flat sheet. Traditional space travel is moving from one point to another across the surface." He folded the paper to bring two distant points together. Five-dimensional travel, what the aliens use, is like this, folding space to create shortcuts. "And the seventh dimension?" Ryan asked. Alan crumpled the paper into a ball. "It's recognizing that all points exist simultaneously in a higher dimensional space. We're not moving through space. We're shifting which reality we exist in." Ryan frowned. "That sounds more like philosophy than physics." "The line between them gets blurry at this level," Alan admitted. "The math works, even if our brains struggle to picture it." The doctor's secure comm device buzzed. It was Captain Ford. "Alan, the Confederation has agreed to our demonstration request. Tomorrow at 900. "We'll be ready," he assured her. "How are they reacting?" "Like we're children showing them a crude drawing," Lisa said, frustration evident in her voice. "Ambassador Vrex called us endearingly ambitious." After ending the call, Alan turned to Ryan. "I knew they wouldn't understand immediately. Their civilizations are too invested in five-dimensional technology. They've built their entire power structures around controlling those transportation networks." "Is that why we kept this secret?" Ryan asked. "Even from our own allies?" Alan nodded slowly. "Humanity is the newcomer in galactic politics. We needed leverage. This technology doesn't just change how we travel. It changes everything." The next morning, Alan boarded the small shuttle that would take him to the horizon. Through the viewport, he could see Jupiter's massive form. The Confederation had allowed the demonstration to proceed in the outer solar system, clearly expecting nothing impressive. Chief Engineer Olivia Martins met him at the airlock. "Dr. West, final calibrations are complete. The dimensional core is stable." "Excellent," Alan said. "And the observation feeds?" "All set. The aliens will see everything from Ganymede Station." Alan made his way to the heart of the ship, a chamber that housed a larger version of his prototype. Unlike the crude original, this was a marvel of engineering, with dozens of specialized systems integrated around the core technology. He placed his hand on the smooth housing of the device. 5 years of work, countless failures, and one accidental discovery had led to this moment. His tablet chimed with a message from Captain Ford. "They're still laughing at us." Alan typed his reply. "Not for much longer." He activated the core, feeling the subtle shift as the seventh dimensional field began to form around the ship. To the human eye, nothing seemed different, but on a fundamental level, the horizon was beginning to exist in multiple states simultaneously. Alan smiled. The universe was about to get much bigger. The observation deck of Ganymede Station curved in a wide arc, providing a spectacular view of Jupiter's swirling storms. Captain Lisa Ford stood at the center of the room, painfully aware of the alien delegates arranged behind her. Their quiet murmurs and occasional bursts of translated laughter made her shoulders tense. "Your vessel appears quite conventional," Ambassador Vrex commented, his 3 eyes fixed on the ENS horizon floating in space before them. "Are you certain you wish to proceed with this demonstration?" "Quite certain," Lisa replied without turning around. "Very well." The ambassador's tone conveyed indulgent amusement. "We are all eager to witness this alleged seventh-dimensional technology." The alien representatives settled into their various seating arrangements. Some required special accommodations for bodies that bore little resemblance to human form. Kithal, the Arcturian scientist, had positioned himself closest to the observation window, his compound eyes glittering with what might have been scientific curiosity beneath his mockery. Lisa tapped her comm device. Horizon, this is Captain Ford. Status report. Olivia Martinez's voice came through clearly. The silence in the observation deck stretched for several moments. Ambassador Vrex's eye stalks had gone completely still, a sign of deep shock among the Xelnar. Cathal, the Arcturian scientist, was frantically operating his data device, trying to make sense of the readings. Captain Ford, Cathal finally spoke, his mandibles moving slowly. Our sensors show your vessel traveled to Alpha Centauri and back in under 20 seconds. That's over 16 light years of total distance. Correct, Lisa replied simply. But there was no energy signature, Cathal continued, his voice rising with disbelief. No dimensional fold, no space distortion, no quantum tunneling. According to our instruments, your ship simply ceased to exist here and began to exist there. Lisa nodded. That's a fairly accurate description. Ambassador Vrex had recovered enough to speak. This technology cannot be possible. It violates fundamental laws of five-dimensional physics. Lisa interrupted. Yes, it does. But seventh-dimensional mechanics operate under different principles entirely. The horizon had returned to its original position near Ganymede and now floated serenely, looking deceptively ordinary. Lisa's comm device buzzed, and she answered it. Captain, Dr. West here. Systems performed perfectly. Would you like us to prepare for demonstration phase 2? Stand by, Doctor, Lisa replied. She turned back to the alien delegation. If you require further proof, we can continue the demonstration with more complex maneuvers. The aliens exchanged glances. The mockery had vanished completely, replaced by a mixture of scientific fascination and what Lisa recognized as fear. That won't be necessary, Vrex said stiffly. We would like to speak with the creator of this technology immediately. Dr. West will join us shortly, Lisa assured them. But first, perhaps you'd like to understand what you just witnessed. She activated her datapad, bringing up a simplified holographic model of multiple intersecting planes of existence. Conventional space travel moves through three-dimensional space, she explained, indicating the lowest plane. Five-dimensional travel, which your civilizations mastered long ago, involves folding space to create shortcuts. The aliens nodded. This was familiar territory. Sixth-dimensional travel, which the Arcturians have achieved in limited form, involves brief transitions through parallel timelines. Lisa continued. Cathal's mandibles clicked in acknowledgement. But seventh-dimensional travel is fundamentally different, Lisa said, highlighting the topmost plane in the hologram. It recognizes that all points in space-time exist simultaneously in a higher state. Our ship doesn't move through space at all. It shifts which reality it manifests in. Ambassador Vrex's middle eye narrowed. If what you say is true, this technology would render our entire transportation network obsolete. Yes, Lisa said simply. It would. And defense systems as well, added the Turillian delegate quietly. If your vessels can appear anywhere instantly, the implication hung in the air. The Confederation's military advantage, built on controlling five-dimensional space lanes, had just been completely undermined. Humanity has no interest in conflict, Lisa assured them, though she noted how several delegates had drawn closer together, already forming alliances in response to this new development. The door to the observation deck slid open, and Dr. Alan West entered. He was a surprisingly ordinary-looking human. Average height, with thinning brown hair and glasses. Nothing about him suggested he had just revolutionized galactic travel. Dr. West, Lisa said formally, the Confederation representatives have some questions about your work. Alan nodded politely to the assembled aliens. I imagine they do. Ambassador Vrex drew himself up to his full height. Doctor, your government must understand that technology of this nature cannot simply be deployed without careful consideration of its impact on galactic stability. Alan smiled faintly. With respect, Ambassador, we've given it 5 years of careful consideration. The question now is not whether humanity will use this technology, but how the Confederation will adapt to it. The balance of power had shifted, and everyone in the room knew it. The Horizon had returned to Earth orbit 3 days after the demonstration. For Lisa Ford, those had been 3 days of tense diplomatic meetings, veiled threats, and increasingly desperate attempts by the Confederation representatives to learn more about the seventh dimensional drive. She now sat in a secure conference room deep within the North American Defense Command, watching the holographic displays that tracked alien vessel movements throughout the solar system. Their activity has increased by 300% since the demonstration, General Sandra Hayes explained, gesturing to the red dots representing Confederation ships. They're being careful to stay in international space, but the message is clear. They're scared, Lisa said simply. Sandra nodded. And scared beings do dangerous things. Our intelligence suggests the Selnar have mobilized 3 battle fleets. They're currently holding position just beyond Pluto's orbit. A young analyst interrupted. General, we're detecting new signals. The Arcturians have joined the Selnar fleet. 4 more of their high ships just arrived. Lisa frowned. That's not good. The Arcturians were the most scientifically curious during our presentation. I had hoped they might be potential allies. It seems they've chosen a side, Sandra replied grimly. And it's not ours. The conference room door opened, and Dr. Alan West entered, accompanied by Major Ryan Clark. Both looked tired but determined. Sorry we're late, Ryan said. We've been analyzing the Confederation ship movements. It's not just a show of force. They're positioning for a potential attack. Ellen spread several data tablets on the table. But we have some good news too. The Dimensional Core's capabilities extend beyond just transportation. Sandra raised an eyebrow. Explain. We've discovered that we can project a 7th dimensional field around Earth and our colonies, Alan said. It would shift them slightly out of phase with normal space, not enough to affect our daily lives, but enough that conventional weapons would pass right through. A perfect defense, Lisa murmured. In theory, Alan cautioned. We've only tested it on small objects in the lab. Sandra studied the data. How quickly could we deploy this technology? The Horizon could generate a field large enough to protect key military installations within hours, Ryan replied. Full planetary coverage would take more time and resources. A comm officer interrupted them. Captain Ford, there's an incoming transmission from Ambassador Vrex. He's demanding to speak with you immediately. Lisa exchanged glances with the others before nodding. Put him through. The large screen on the wall flickered to life, showing the Selnar ambassador. His usual composed demeanor had given way to barely concealed agitation, his eye stalks quivering constantly. Captain Ford, he began without preamble. The Galactic Confederation has concluded an emergency session regarding your 7th dimensional technology. We're listening, Lisa replied calmly. This technology represents an unacceptable threat to galactic stability. Vrex continued. The Confederation demands that all research data, prototypes, and the Enance Horizon itself be surrendered for study and controlled implementation. Lisa's expression didn't change. And if we refuse? Vrex's middle eye narrowed. Then we would be forced to take protective measures to ensure the safety of all Confederation species. You're threatening a preemptive strike against Earth, Lisa stated flatly. We prefer to call it crisis prevention, Vrex replied. You have 48 hours to comply. The transmission ended abruptly. The room remained silent for several moments. Well, Sandra finally said, I think that answers the question of their intentions. Lisa turned to Alan. How quickly can the Horizon be prepared for a full-scale defensive deployment? 24 hours, Alan replied confidently. But we'll need the President's authorization. Sandra was already moving toward the door. I'll arrange an emergency meeting with the Security Council. In the meantime, Captain Ford, I need you and your crew to prepare the Horizon. If the Confederation wants a demonstration of 7th dimensional power, we'll give them one they won't forget. Lisa nodded grimly. They were laughing at us 3 days ago. They won't be laughing much longer. The Confederation fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly 48 hours after Ambassador Vrex's ultimatum. 327 vessels arranged in attack formation, the largest alien armada ever to approach Earth. On the bridge of the EN's horizon, Lisa Ford studied the tactical display with a calm that belied the gravity of the situation. "They're not wasting any time," Commander Jack Russell observed as the alien ships began to advance. "Standard intimidation formation. It worked for them against other species," Lisa replied. "Show overwhelming force, demand surrender, avoid actual conflict." "But we're not going to surrender," Jack said. It wasn't a question. "No, we are not." Dr. Alan West stood at the science station, monitoring the dimensional core's output. "The defensive field is stable, Captain. We're ready to extend it whenever you give the word." Lisa nodded and opened a channel to Earth Command. "General Hayes, the Confederation fleet has arrived. Permission to proceed with Operation Shield Wall." Sandra's voice came through clearly. "Permission granted, Captain. The President has authorized full defensive measures. Remember, we want to show them we can't be threatened, not start a war." "Understood. Horizon out." Lisa turned to her crew. "Begin 7th Dimensional Defensive Protocol." Alan's fingers moved across his console. "Initiating field expansion. The mathematics are complex. We need to shift just enough to avoid weapons fire while maintaining our physical presence in normal space." The Horizon's dimensional core hummed to life. Unlike the demonstration at Ganymede, this time the ship wasn't jumping to a new location. Instead, it was projecting a field that would expand to cover key Earth installations. "Confederation vessels have locked weapons," reported Lieutenant Padel from Tactical. "They're hailing us." "On screen," Lisa ordered. Ambassador Vrex appeared, flanked by representatives from several other species. "Captain Ford, this is your final opportunity to surrender your technology peacefully." "Ambassador, this is our solar system. You have brought an invasion fleet to our doorstep and demanded we hand over our most valuable technological advancement. Those are not the actions of peaceful diplomats." Vrex's eye stalks quivered with what Lisa now recognized as anger. "You leave us no choice. Your technology threatens the stability of the entire galaxy." "No," Lisa countered. "It threatens your control of the galaxy. There's a difference." She signaled to cut the transmission. "They're charging weapons," Jack reported tensely. "Defensive field at 80% coverage," Alan announced. "Earth's major military and population centers are protected." "Here they come," Jack warned. The Confederation ships fired as one, hundreds of energy beams and projectiles streaking toward Earth and the horizon. The crew braced for impact, but there was no impact. The weapons passed harmlessly through their targets, continuing into empty space beyond. "It worked," Alan exclaimed, checking his readings. "We're slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. Their weapons can't touch us." Lisa reopened the channel to the Confederation fleet. The aliens were in visible disarray, their neat formation breaking as ship commanders reacted to the impossible failure of their weapons. "Ambassador Vrex," Lisa said calmly, "as you can see, your weapons are ineffective against 7th dimensional field technology. We have no desire for conflict, but we will protect ourselves." Vrex was clearly stunned. This cannot." "To demonstrate that our intentions are peaceful," Lisa continued, "we will not return fire. But know this, the age of Confederation dominance through control of 5-dimensional travel is over. Humanity is willing to share our technology for peaceful purposes, but we will not be bullied or threatened." She turned to Alan. "Doctor, please give our friends a small demonstration of our offensive capabilities." Alan nodded and made a small adjustment to the field. A pulse of 7th-dimensional energy rippled outward, passing through the Confederation fleet. As it did, their weapon systems briefly flickered and went dark. "That was a targeted 7th-dimensional pulse," Lisa explained to the shocked aliens. "We could have disabled your engines instead, or your life support." The message was clear. The balance of power had shifted irrevocably. "What are your terms?" Vrex finally asked, his voice subdued. Lisa smiled. "Let's discuss a new galactic order, one based on cooperation rather than control." 6 months after the confrontation at the edge of the solar system, Captain Lisa Ford stood on a platform in the newly constructed Galactic Council chamber on neutral territory, a space station orbiting the moon. Behind her, Earth was visible through the massive viewport, a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Before her sat representatives from 23 spacefaring civilizations. The 12 original Confederation species were there, but so were 11 others that had previously been excluded from galactic politics due to their limited dimensional travel capabilities. 6 months ago, Lisa began. Humanity demonstrated technology that changed the balance of power in our galaxy. Today, we take the next step, not toward human dominance, but toward true cooperation. She gestured to the gathered representatives. For too long, access to 5-dimensional travel technology determined a species' standing in galactic affairs. The Confederation controlled the space lanes, and therefore controlled commerce, diplomacy, and military power. Ambassador Vrex sat quietly in the front row. His initial hostility had given way to a more pragmatic approach in the months following the failed attack. The Xelnar and other powerful species had realized that attempting to suppress human technology would only lead to their own isolation. "Today we signed the Dimensional Accord," Lisa continued. "Humanity will share 7th-dimensional technology with all peaceful species, regardless of their previous standing. In return, we establish new protocols for interstellar relations, ones based on mutual respect rather than technological advantage." Kithal, the Arcturian scientist who had once mocked humanity's claims, now stood beside Dr. Alan West at a nearby console. The two had developed an unlikely collaboration, with Kithal's deep knowledge of 5-dimensional physics complementing Alan's breakthrough work. "The first joint Human Confederation vessel will launch next month," Lisa announced. "The GCS Unity will carry scientists from 15 species to explore regions of space previously inaccessible to any of us." The chamber filled with the various sounds that indicated approval across different species. Even Vrex's eye stalks swayed in what Lisa had learned was a gesture of acceptance. After the formal proceedings, Lisa found herself in a small observation lounge with Alan and several other key figures who had helped navigate the crisis. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you made your discovery?" she asked Alan as they watched Earth slowly rotate below them. Alan smiled. "Not exactly. I was just trying to understand quantum entanglement better. The 7th dimension was an accident." "Some accident," Lisa replied. "You changed the course of galactic history." "We all did," Alan corrected her. "Science made it possible, but diplomacy made it work." Ryan Clark, recently promoted to colonel, joined them with drinks. "To think, 6 months ago, they were laughing at us." "Laughter often masks fear of the unknown," said a new voice. Ambassador Vrex had entered the lounge quietly. "My people believed we understood the universe's fundamental rules. You showed us how limited our understanding was." The Xelnar moved to the viewport, his 3 eyes taking in the view of Earth. "Your world is quite beautiful," he observed. "I understand better now why you fought so hard to protect it." "All our worlds are worth protecting," Lisa said. "That's the point of the accord." Vrex made the Xelnar gesture of agreement. "Indeed, my civilization spent millennia conquering and controlling. Perhaps there is wisdom in your approach of sharing and cooperation." "There's one thing I still don't understand," Ryan said to the ambassador. "Why did the Confederation react with fear rather than curiosity when we demonstrated our technology?" "Because power, once obtained, creates fear of its loss," Vrex replied simply. "The Confederation species had grown comfortable with our position. Your breakthrough threatened that comfort." As the station rotated, the sun came into view, its light illuminating the gathering. "So what happens now?" Lisa asked. Alan smiled. "Now we explore. The 7th dimension has shown us that the universe is much stranger and more wonderful than any of us imagined. And we explore it together, Vrex added. For the first time in galactic history, that statement was true. The laughter had stopped, replaced by something far more valuable: respect.